All right.
Now, while you're up, if you ought to see a picture of the old school, look, if you see the pictures of it.
I brought
No.
one here.
No, I have here. This is where it is.
Okay.
Maybe the same picture. It is.
That one
It's
there.
the very same thing.
Is
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yes. That was, I about forgotten how that building looked. Maud Sharp used to say my mother, and she's retired, brought me one several years ago. And I don't know what year I was looking at it and thinking, I may get a magnifying glass and see if I'm sure I wouldn't recognize anybody.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if that was Mr. Henderson that was principal when I started school. But I can't tell what year it was.
Where did that building sit? Was it?
Pretty much farther down where the playground, if I remember right.
That's what people have said.
It's
Yeah.
about where the playground was. That way. But there used to be an agricultural building back up on the hill as far as you can get. And the boys would go up there, and we had always full. We have a good set of pictures there.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
They were having some kind of something special. And there's a bunch of cars parked around it. I don't know.
They just parked there for it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we used to. I know what the dedication of this new building was. We parked down on the playground at that time. It happened to be a nice day. When we could, that makes it look larger, showing all that at the back.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where that would have been took from. I guess from back.
Now, the second grade used to be in the building out here.
Okay.
And the wheelhouse. Have you ever heard anybody tell you about the wheelhouse in the water? Oh, that one. If I don't forget it, I'm going to. And up here, more or less, is where the first grade was.
Okay.
And it was a two-room building up there.
Okay. Yeah, I ran across this one too. That came out of Maud Rogers. She was in sixth grade at that time, so I don't know.
She was a year ahead of my oldest sister.
Okay.
And I remember submitting them, she used to have a picture, or some of them did, that looks somewhat like that. And I bet look back and see if I can find it in the trunk. But now that must have been in the late, about 20-something. Well, that would really have been in, she was in sixth grade, because she finished in 1930, I remember.
Oh, okay.
She finished the year I started school.
Yeah, well, you can keep that one. I made you a copy of that, and you can have that one too.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And you said you've got that one.
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought that might be something, but you already had a better one.
Yeah, I tracked that.
I figured most people would have seen or heard. And you have people that are originally from Leicester, or newcomers.
Both.
Both.
Some of these.
Some will know more than I can tell on that, I'm sure. But it'd be interesting.
Now, you've been around here a long time, though.
Well, I have, I guess, better so. Does anybody? You have my class picture. Well, now, where did you get that?
It was in the newspaper.
Oh, it was in the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I have a picture of that.
And that's you right there?
Yeah, that's right. And I had wore white sandals that day. I remember I said I should have worn darker shoes. I was thinking about what I was wearing instead of having a picture made was coming down.
Yep, and that's your copy. I made you that.
Well, thank you very much. You want to keep this in case? I remember that too. I think that's a kind of annual, I believe.
It was. When I made the picture out of it, it cut some of the names off at the bottom.
Okay. But I know the bottom anyway.
Yeah.
There may have been a few that came in just a year or two that I've forgotten their names. I remember the faces, but it's okay. It's eventually the name would come. I guess that was when Mr. McKenzie was principal. Because that's him there, yeah.
Yep. But those two are your copies.
Yeah.
I made me an extra one, so I've got one too.
Well, thank you very much.
And there's the flyer of our. And got your picture on it. Those are up all over Leicester.
They're all over Leicester.
Yeah.
Oh, Leicester History County. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Well, that should. And I bet a neat bunch of people will come with that, most likely.
Yeah. And next month, I hope to do the Leicester Elementary School and have Mr. Payne come and talk. So.
Well, he'll be glad to do that.
Did you ever work with him, or
yes,
did
he was
you?
my principal when I retired.
Okay.
And we'd get together after that for a long time, retired teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And I got I had sickness in the family, and I wasn't able to go, and I don't think they have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I know they didn't. At one time I saw somebody that was going to come by and pick me up, and she never did call, so I guess it just kind of fished out.
Probably, yeah.
Because
There's a couple of old pictures from in the 20s.
Well, now that shows. Did anybody ever tell you that the school started up toward where Cat Forest, they called it Cat Forest.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it was before this, is what I've always heard it.
Yeah.
That,
That mentions Fred Jarvis.
Fred Jarvis. Oh, he was the principal. He was the principal when my older sisters went when they first started in Leicester.
Do you remember him?
I have seen him other things to do, but I remember him after he was old.
Right.
He married one of the Ramsey girls that lived on Ramsey Road.
Okay.
And they went to Mount Carmel. We didn't come to homecomings or things. I've seen them through the years like that, or sometimes it's the Ramseys. But I didn't know when he's principal. But
because he was a preacher too, wasn't he? Wasn't he a preacher?
I guess he was.
I've seen Reverend in front of his name, so I think he must have been a preacher too.
Well, I know he's a good man, but he lived in Hendersonville, not supposed to live there in later years. And Mr. Dillard was there. He followed him, and he was there when I started school.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then he went to Canada for a while. He was there quite a while. Dorsey Miller. Now, these are people that talked to my older sisters. Maud Williams, who married Jennifer Reynolds. I remember them always liking her. Well, somebody has some good pictures.
Yeah, I think those came from Frankie Miller.
Frankie, yeah,
I think she you can keep that too.
Are you sure you can?
I've made me a copy too, so.
Oh, mine like that. That's great.
Yeah.
You can. Well, now, like my oldest cousins on the Brookshire side of Lauren, taught at that school where Cat Forest was.
Okay.
And they told one time they were going to a teachers' meeting. I believe it was Hot Springs. Anyway, Papa had two horses that were black and real pretty in a carriage, and he came and got that and took a carriage load of teachers to me. It had hot springs in it, but that sounds like almost impossible for them to
A
go
long
there
way,
and
don't it?
everything. And it seems it's hot springs, but it may be something else. I won't say for sure. But anyway, they had their teachers meetings back then.
Yeah. Huh.
Right there, she.
Yeah. Well.
But now, see, he had children older than I was then. It's just the difference in the age for those.
Right. All right. Well, when were you born?
1923, February 16th, 1923.
1923. So this year you turned 90.
I was 93 in February.
93. 93. And where were you raised at?
Right around here.
On this property?
The house right below, but it's still standing.
Where Braun lived?
Where Braun lived.
Okay. So you were born here, and what was your mom and dad's name?
Robert Nelson Brookshire and Maggie Helen Smith Brookshire.
Okay. And where did you go to elementary school at?
Leicester.
You went to Leicester
Yeah.
Elementary.
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody mentioned that there was a Piney Mountain School.
Piney Grove, they call it.
Piney Grove, okay.
Yes, almost brothers and sisters. And they used to have a primer at that time, like the kindergarten is now. And my brother, who's 3.5 years older than me, went there. And then when I went to Leicester, we just went in the first grade. It was that way for a long time before they started having the kindergarten.
Where was that Piney Grove at?
Well, there were two of them they'd call Old Piney that was farther up. Are you familiar with Dix Creek? Number 2, we call it now. I never did know exactly, but it was quite a ways up there.
Okay.
And the other one was, well, I remember that the last building, you know where Frisbee Road turns off. It's right there in the corner of, well, where Dix Creek goes the other way, and there. And I think some McLean's bought it and turned it into a house or something, or else tore it down and built over there. That's who lived there, and I think the house is still standing, but I remember the old school was there.
Okay.
It seems to me that we were just taking a walk one time, and it stayed open, we looked in it, if I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you might have went to that Piney Grove. I knew it was kind of in this area.
Yeah.
I think George Mears told me his mom went
Yes,
there.
because she lived over, well, she finished school the same year 2 of my sisters did.
Oh, okay.
And they got together at the time that they went to Leicester because the show was Piney Grove, and they just let it go 6 months out of the year, and then they'd have to go the next 2 months at the beginning and finish that grade up. And my father used to beg everybody to pay a little bit more taxes so we could have 8 months school. But there's too many outnumbered that would.
Right.
Of course, in time, I guess the state took over and they did, but at that time, if someone they were a little older when they finished school than it would have been otherwise, but that was the custom.
Yeah.
But now you've heard about all those feeder schools. There were 2 on Newfound and 1 on Union.
Yeah. I live up on North Turkey Creek, and Teague School was up there.
Yes.
That's where my grandma went.
And that's interesting too. I didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in my time, I remember they'd come to Leicester when the Newfound was the 5th grade, and the Union would come when we were in the 7th grade. And that made our class increase. Now, some of the ones I started school with, I finished. We went all the way together. But different ones would come and go
Right.
and move in and out.
Mhm.
But people's pretty much stayed the same. It was just old timers, I guess you'd say.
Right.
And then all once we got all these new names and everything like that.
Mhm.
And it made it, but as long as I was in just regular school, somewhat that way.
Mhm. Okay. So you started school when you was about 5.
No, I
no.
was 6 in February, it didn't start till in August, because
No
it
kindergarten.
was turned
yeah.
off.
Right.
No, you had to be October the 1st, I think, was turned off.
Mm.
If you were 6 by at that time, you couldn't go next year.
Ah.
That was the reason. So
Yeah.
it was, that's why some in my class was like that, and then some were about a year younger than us because they,
Mhm.
well, it was a matter of months, more or less, in
Right.
that way.
So you went all the way through school right there on that same property.
Except in high school when we went to Biltmore.
Right.
You know, that group.
Yeah, we want to hear about
I
that.
want to tell
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll be interesting if people haven't heard it.
Yeah. But other than that, your whole time was
Was
at that same property. Okay.
Yeah, we just lived here. Now, we used to have to walk from down there over to where the trailer park turns in. We call it Wiggley's Mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
And the bus would come up the hill and pick us up there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when my older brothers and sisters started, they had to walk to Gadget's Branch. And they usually just go through the field. And they had a regular path to do. And it wasn't unusual for the bus not to come or be late, and people they just walked to school together all the way
Right.
through. Because when they broke down, you didn't have as many buses as you have now.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then you graduated in 1940,
Right.
and so go ahead and tell us about when they bust you to Biltmore.
Is that what you want to
Right now, yeah, before we go on into...
Okay.
So that was
Well-
when they condemned that building, right?
Yes. But it kept on, they could go downstairs, the garbage grade stayed there, but the high school had to go. From, I was in the 9th grade, and school had just been started a little while, and I'm on tape.
Yeah.
I don't sound very good.
You're fine. You're fine.
I was in the 9th grade, and just down in blue, they called us together and said the school had been condemned, and to get all of our books, everything we had, and take home with us. And they would let us know. And at that time, we thought we'd have to go to different schools. We figured we'd have to go to West Buckham because of our location, and someone had gone to Sandwich and some French Broad, and well, I guess that would have been it, pretty much it. But we just went home and waited, and a few days the word came back that Biltmore had room in their basement and a building that we could go in. And so I guess the following Monday, I'm not sure what time it was, but anyway, we went together as a high school, just like it always had been, except we had to be bused. And if I remember, there were 3 buses, and maybe sometimes 4. But we went all those years without an accident, except one time one of the buses met a truck, and he was already on it was narrow. Craggy Bridge was more narrow than the one now. And a big truck met, and they managed, but he scraped just the edge. Other than that, there wasn't an accident, and that was really wonderful.
See, at that time, you had to go down to the river
And we
and
had
back
to go
up.
to-
It wasn't.
Yes, we went to, and went through Biltmore. And sometimes we'd get caught with a train in the morning. We thought that was wonderful.
Yeah.
At that time, so much shipping was done on the railroad. And we kept the cars, and sometimes I think I'd be about 200. Well, in the morning, we thought, well, that's great. We'll be late to school.
Yeah.
When we were coming home, it wasn't great because we'd be late getting home.
Yeah.
But still, we had to come back to to Leicester and get with the grammar grades and go on home from there. But it was just routine. We didn't think anything about it.
Yeah.
And I went there the rest of that year, and in the 10th and 11th, we just went through the 11th grade at that time. And they said they could rush up and finish the new building that was being built. But we said, well, we'd gone to Biltmore all the time, so we just graduated there, and we had a graduation. And then in June of 1940, they dedicated the new building. And I remember there was a crowd of people, and they had the Governor Huey, I believe it was the speaker at that time. And there was a big crowd of people, but we just went for the dedication and didn't stay.
Right, because you'd already graduated.
I'd already graduated.
Yeah.
And I think I went back to get some records later, but I would go maybe to programs or things they had. And it was unusual because in the old school they had to have the auditorium and gym together, and this one, and the auditorium was elevated, and that was really something, and the gym was not, it was really a nice building in that way.
Well, how long did that bus ride take from here to Biltmore?
I don't remember exactly, but not more than well, we just got used to it, and I can't remember exactly how long it took.
So you went 3 years to
3
Biltmore.
years.
Now, does your diploma say you graduated from Leicester or Biltmore?
Leicester. See, we still
You're
get
still
the
Leicester.
School, yes, and everything that way. And my brother finished the first year with that. And here a while back they talked about having a reunion if everybody never went to Biltmore. And I think that class said they felt like they were at Leicester because they just finished a year out there. And it never did come about anyway like that.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting story. A lot of people don't know anything about.
Well, now there was another building that had an auditorium, and we'd go down there to practice plays and different things, and we just had to be on a schedule. They'd let us use their auditorium, and the girls practiced basketball, and at lunchtime they would go to the gym, and then the boys would stay after school, I suppose, and practice. I don't think they ever went back to Leicester and practice because they were afraid to carry it. I don't know what happened to I guess they still use the gym and that at that time, but I just don't remember what happened to that school. But we'd go back to the Leicester, the regular school, and then come home. Sometimes my bus would go to Biltmore and I wouldn't have to change, but most of the time I'd have to get on another bus and go. And I don't remember if I know we were assigned to a certain bus because otherwise people had been jumping on first one, not the other. But we just had one we were assigned to. And usually a teacher or two teachers were on every bus.
So was it the same teachers from Leicester too?
From Leicester, they were our teachers.
So you just took the whole school, didn't you?
We took the whole school. And a professor would stay at Leicester Elementary in the mornings and go to high school in the afternoon. And he had to go back and forth and take care of both places. And on later years he said if he hadn't been a younger man at that time, he couldn't have stood up to it.
Yeah. And then after you graduated, you decided you want to be a teacher.
Well, I had planned to do somewhat, yes. And I went to Biltmore, what's UNCA now, but at that time it was just a 2-year college. And I was planning to go on to Greensboro the last 2 years, and I met this Selma boy that had a sister at Western. She told me about Western. And I decided to go there 2 years, but I went 2 years to Biltmore, and at that time it's where Mission Hospital is now. And I would usually, well, for a while, it was before the war, my sisters drove to work and they'd take me by. And then when the war started, guys got scarce, we had to ride the bus. And at that time, they'd put on a bus from Leicester to Asheville. And it was just a good timing for me, so I could ride it. Then I'd get on the city bus at Pritchard Park and go on out. And about the same ones would be riding the one from Pritchard Park on out every morning. And then we'd get out different times and come back.
Yeah. So you started teaching in 44.
44 and taught at Red Oak 2 years.
Okay, where was Red Oak?
It was down in the Alexander section. When you moved, I had to board in Louisville those 2 years. And then I would ride with another teacher all there. There weren't into the place. Well, I think there may have been a few places, but I didn't know about them at the time. And anyway, I went back and fourth hour and we come home on weekends. And then the second year, I lived in a boarding house first year. Some of us had an apartment there.
And then you came to Leicester after that?
I came to Leicester and taught 8th grade for 3 years and then 6th grade for about 12 and ended up 5th grade. Well, sometimes during that time there was a combination of well, like a reading class when they got this new reading program out, I would have some 4th, 5th, and 6th graders all in the same group.
And who's some of the other teachers that you worked with for?
Well, I'll start with the first grade. Lois Hutchins was a first grade teacher for years. And
She
Miss
kin to
Britt,
Gary Hutchins?
he was her oldest son.
Okay.
And then she had another son and a
Cecil.
daughter. And going back, Ruth Reynolds taught 2nd grade for years at Lois Kirkendall. She was Lois Smith and married Judy Kirkendall. Kate Reeves, Ethel Davis, and Mae McIntyre, Julia Burrow Ballard, Wilma Stevens, she's finished school with me, Wilma Sams. And then Connie Rogers. And I know I've left out some more, there'd be teachers
Coming in and
that
out.
didn't stay too long. But that was more or less the old Leicester teachers that people would have known, I guess.
And Miss Brookshire. All right. And
Now, I didn't say a Kathleen Cole Duckett and then her sister Pauline Reese were in there at one time too.
All right. And here's a question I want to know the answer to. Do you remember when they stopped letting you correct the children as far as whipping the children?
Well, we had to have a witness and go get another teacher to witness it. I think disturbed with one thing or another. And I got kind of afraid of myself, despite I'd usually have to write something, copy something out of the dictionary or something like that. But sometimes you'd have a hard time getting that. They didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's usually the thing that it worked and you didn't have any trouble with it.
Right.
But I finally got, well, I know I taught this boy that his brothers were older in agriculture when they did something to him. Anyway, they made the best paddle you ever saw. And they were paddling the younger ones, they initiated them into being in agriculture. And they brought to me and said, now, you have to, Uncle Joe was the son I was teaching that year, and he was nice as he could be. He made a highway patrolman in later years. I thought, you should think if he ever saw me, he'd pick me up. But anyway, he was determined he was going to get the first spanking with that. And it helped. She used to, but many times I just patted on my desk and frightened them that way with it. And but Mr. Payne used to come by sometimes saying, I want you to witness, and I want you to paddle. And that paddle went around and was used, and you could handle it real well. But he took it from me in later years, said if that went to course, then we'd all be in trouble.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he did with it, but that was one thing. But I think we used to use ping pong bats sometimes, or something like that. But I'd always try to get, but sometimes they'd try to raise up, and I'd be afraid I'd hit their back. I didn't want to hurt anybody. Just try to teach them lessons was the main thing that way. But it used to be that you could just give them a pop or something like that, and that was okay, but it got, and now apparently you can't touch them at all.
Yeah. Can't even hardly talk to them nowadays.
Well, you're afraid of what you'll say, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it.
Someone was telling me about one of the teachers, and I don't know if it was you or one of the others, would bend the hand back. And
I think that was Ruth Reynolds.
Yes.
That was the one that, and they said that really hurt. And she'd use a ruler, I think. Or so she had something, and they were second graders.
Get their attention.
Got their attention, that was for sure.
Yeah. Now, is she still living, Ruth Reynolds?
No, they found her dead. She just had a heart attack, I think, during the night. And she was just found that way.
Right. Okay. Other than that, what's the changes that you see from the time you started teaching to now?
Well, discipline, for one thing, is you have to be so careful what you say and do. Of course, I've not been in, I just hear about it from time to time. And I know when I first retired, the teachers would tell me it was worse than it was when I said, I could see how it could be. But, well, of course, at that time, you weren't afraid something would happen to you. And now, people could walk in and be shitty, or we never worried about a child bringing a gun to school. That was just didn't even, and they carried their knives, and if a pencil sharpener broke, some of them were real good sharp pencils, and that was a loss. And some of them had the screwdrivers on them and could do little jobs, especially the older ones would do a lot of things that way. And we just didn't think of that using any kind of thing that would hurt us. I never thought of being afraid.
Yeah. And nowadays that's on the news every day.
That's it. It's surprising what you hear. Of course, you think it won't happen, but it can't happen anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
So what year did you retire?
1985.
85. Well, we were in a building up behind the school with 2 rooms in it. Of course, I just went into one room, and Miss Annie Reynolds was the teacher, and her parents, and she lived in a house right out front there, and she'd go back and see about her parents there so often. She'd just run in and see if they were okay or something like that. And I learned, I think I already knew ABCs and several things, but we had just more or less a good time learning things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember at play period time, she had a short fur jacket, and she would be the bear, and we were supposed to be the hounds after her.
Hmm.
And we'd get ahead of her, she'd just kind of trot
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, and she'd stop and say, "Now you folks slow down, I can't go that place." And then it was hard, and don't you disturb the big folks now. I really was supposed to yell and scream, and it just came natural to do
Right.
that. And I remember one time, some of us were out playing, she had some inside for some reason, and somebody made a noise, and she called us in and had us go to the blackboard, and she went around and drew a circle on the blackboard where everybody's nose would go, and you can't stand nose the board.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the put well, that was used, I think, for several years. Well, I don't remember when they stopped her. Maybe I just had a teacher that didn't do it, but I remember that was a punishment
Yeah.
at that time, and it smelled bad.
Mhm.
It really wasn't good for us, I guess, but it worked.
Yeah.
But you could punish a whole lot at the same time that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember it was in the afternoon in the summertime, we'd go across Gilbert Road, and she would carry a big chair and take a book to read to us. And it was mossy and a little stream down there. And it seems to me we'd sit on that mossy bank and listen to those stories, and that was so cool, and it just wonderful. I remember that part of it. Of course, since then houses have been built and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that was her property. It may have been the Gilberts. I'm not sure who owned it, but anyway, we were allowed to use it as she had permission, and we'd do it. And then we'd have to get ready to get down. She'd take us every day to get down to meet the buses. And I had older brothers and sisters, and see, I got on the bus that way. And I guess most of them, we pretty well learned, even the first grade, which bus to get on.
Mm-hmm. Did you have to take your own lunch, or did they have a cafeteria?
We did have a cafeteria. That was something, I know when they got free breakfast, we were surprised. I said, well, I remember when my mother used to have to get breakfast for us and fix her lunches and everything like that, and you just had to do that.
Right.
And at that time, you didn't ever wear pants. Well, I always through school, when I was in school, they just didn't wear them.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught school for a long time. And I think it was after Mr. Payne, our last principal, was there, that asked him about it one time. And they were so much warmer if you were on bus duty or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the next year I was in second grade, and it was a separate building out toward Nashville from the other. And in later years they added another room to it, but it was just one room when I was there. And right in front of it, between it and the big building, was what they call the well house. And on the side was just a long trough or something like that. And they would turn the water on when it was time to come in from recess, and people would line up, and it must have had a faucet up to it, but it looked to me like it's just coming out of cement, and I always thought it tasted kind of cementy, but anyway, it was good cold water. It was out of the well,
Mm-hmm.
and they would turn it on, and then after everybody got water, they'd cut it off. And well, all of these used it, and the whole school did that. And of course, that kept the janitor busy, I'm sure, turning it on and off. And of course, that was part of his schedule. We just had to keep up with it.
Right.
But at that building, it was more or less just routine. And the next year, I was in third grade, and we went to the big building. But I was on the stage that time. They kept the curtains down, and normally it was just a regular classroom. But in the spring of the year, when it was time to practice the senior play and graduation and different things like that,
we set up a classroom in the back of the auditorium or gym, and they practiced that. I guess they kept the curtains drawn. I don't remember that we were distracted with it, or whether we watched it, but I just remember our class was there for, I guess, just a few, maybe about a month or something, toward the end of school. And then at 4th grade, at 5th, I was in different rooms there in that building. And in the 6th grade, I was upstairs. And there was a fire escape outside, and our teacher would let us come in the door that came in that way. And we'd go up instead of waiting outside, or if we went downstairs, we'd have to go into another classroom where we could be by the big pot stoves. And once in a while, those stoves would fall. And the judge had some big left thick gloves. He'd come in and get his stock towel. I remember ever very long enough to get a hole in there because they just run. And of course, a stove had fallen apart. But they had to know how to do something like that. It was all. It was most unusual to have something like that, but that was it. And I guess when we went to Biltmore, was the first steam heat we had because we had those little pot stoves at that time. And I don't know if they ever got any heater when that was it to the last, but I guess it was it to the last.
So that school, you said the auditorium and gym was the same.
I was saying.
And then there was never a cafeteria in that
No,
old
in that
building
school we never had a cafeteria.
till they
And
built
there was
it.
a little store down at the corner, and we were allowed to go down there and get paper. We used to ask a teacher for permission, but a lot of times we just slip across. We'd be down on the playground, and at that time you could get like grape or orange. That's usually the kinds I would get, but it was like just a hard candy on each side, and you got 4 of those for a penny. And then they had Mary Jane's, 3 for, I don't know what they for, 3 for a penny or so. Anyway, there were certain things like that that we would get, and we'd get before school. While I rode the first bus, sometimes we'd just be outside in the summertime. Of course, in the wintertime, they'd let us go into a room a few upstairs, so the high school had just go into another room and wait until it was time to take up school.
Well, we appreciate you letting us come in and interview you. We're
Well,
going to show this next Thursday. You'll be up on the big screen.
I hope everybody will forgive my mistakes and what I've been holding on to. I'll tape a lot of the time.
That's the best way.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just better to do it that way.
Yeah.
Because you're more at ease and
Right.
remember.
Right. Was there anything else you want to tell them before I turn it off?
I don't think that. I'm just trying to think if I got anything wrong to
You wouldn't believe it, the number of people that's commented how they were excited to come to see this because they said, "Oh, she was my 5th grade teacher." Yeah. Ain't no how many people you taught. There's no telling.
No, well,